Hey everybody, Jen Bernakevitch here with All Points Design. That's allpointsdesign.ca, and Neil Bertrando of RT Permaculture. Today we're talking about the Oregon State University Permaculture Design course. Specifically, we're talking about Assignment 14, the Bioregion and Climate Questionnaire. So this is a brilliant assignment that's completely 100% necessary and something that I really want you to dive deep into. It's very simple. There's 10 questions. You go through, you answer the questions. Now, I'm going to give you a couple of clues and hints about what else you can do to improve the value of this assignment to you. But first and foremost, we're going to show you some examples, which for me have kind of set the gold standard for this. Take a look at them, take that in, and really try to knock this one out of the ballpark, because I think you'll be happy when you do. So let's start off here. So again, one slide, two slides, great. Let's put everything on that piece of paper. Give me some images. Show me what it is we're talking about. If you're describing a local food chain, show me an image, draw me an image. If you're showing me the watershed, show me the watershed. We already did the watershed assignment. That should be a copy and paste. What are the three biggest cultural, social, and economic challenges in your bioregion? Okay, so here's what I don't want to see. Poverty. And then nothing. As if it's a problem that has no explanation. If you are going to put in a really big social economic problem, you got to dive into it. You have to ask the question, well, why is that? And then why is that? And why is that? I want you to expand it. I want you to expound upon it. I want you to dive a little bit deeper into it. Don't take the shortcut on this assignment. Don't take the low road. Take the high road. Go a little bit deeper into those conversations. Where does your drinking water come from? This is where it comes from. Here's something I'd love to see. Tell me what is the process it goes through. Do a bit of research. Let me know what your potable water treatment looks like. If you're from a well, do a little bit of research. Give me a bit of sense of what are the components that bring your water to you. Give me a sense that you know source to sink what happens here. Describe your soil. Again, this is a recap. You should know this pretty well. Where does your wastewater go? Again, great. So it goes to the Hairstock water treatment work. Great. What happens there? I worked at a water treatment plant. It's pretty freaking cool. Go into the process and learn about it, because more and more you're going to have to take the principles that happen on the large scale and apply them to a small scale if we start to adopt some of the things that are necessary for us to really start to take responsibility for ourselves and for our children. 5 birds that inhabit your watershed. Great. Want to go the next step? Tell me when you see them. Give me a little bit of the phonology. Do you see something that comes in when something else comes? What are these birds the harbingers of potentially? What materials or presently do indigenous people use to construct their homes? Great. Big question after you do this, and give me the time periods and all of this. This is one of my favorite assignments because they really went into it. They went as far back as they could find. They came all the way to the present. Why? Why do they use those? Well, it's what they had, okay? And after they had other ones, why do they use those? Well, it took care of these abiotic factors, these biotic factors. It had a string of positives, a string of negatives. Give me a bit of explanation so I know that you're starting to think about these things. The reason why we take a look at things that are existing is that they give us clues upon what else we can do in our sites. So it's a really specific one there. 5 key medicinal plants in your area, or native or naturalized. What are they used for? What plants are used? Do you use them? If not, why? That's a question I like to ask in response to a lot of assignments. What are the earliest wildflowers to bloom in the springtime? Look at all those lovely photos. Look at them. Now I know. I can see what you're saying. Locate the following climate data about your home site or project. Love the charts here. Love to see. Fantastic to see. And as usual, sources. This is an A+++++ assignment in my opinion. Neil, what do we like about this? What don't we like about this? Where you at?
Okay, well, I'll just start here on the second page. All plants have botanical names associated with them. Love it. Always, always, always. What is the binomial name, the species and the genus, right? Not just the common name, especially when you're talking about medicinal plants. If you're going to use something for medicine, that's likely to be a very powerful plant. It could have unintended consequences and side effects. You don't want to be using the wrong one, right? So common names are an easy way to do that, and just always Latin names. Common name and Latin name is great. If it's just a Latin name, that's fine, right? Sometimes we have students here in this course that, English isn't their first language. Even better. Or like I had a student from Brazil, a student from Puerto Rico. The common names are in Portuguese and Spanish, or maybe even Taino or whatever, Caribbean, some historic name and nomenclature that I don't understand. So Latin names. I know I'm talking about the same thing, right? So perfect with the photo. I love it. Table, all the data in one place, summarized monthly, easy to read, total. Love it, right? There's a reason that these data are presented in tables on the sources that you go to, the climate websites. If not a table, a graphic visual, right? So there's a lot of climate graphic visuals out there that have the histogram of the precipitation by month, and they have the line of the temperatures by month. Perfect. Allows us to quickly understand a lot about the site. And then you can come back to it and reference it easily. All right, let's go. One thing I would like to see is the earliest wildflowers hold the plant names, right? You did it in the other, it was done in the other part. In the medicinal plants, it's done on all the titles for everything. Use formatting to bold things to make it easy to see each unit. Very, very awesome. Love it. All right, let's go to the top. Pictures are great. I think I second everything Javan said. Local food chain always starts with a primary producer that's fed by either the sun or some sort of heat source or chemical source, right? So, but basically it's a plant fed by the sun for almost every food chain on the planet. So don't forget those things. That's important, right? Then it goes to all sorts of other stuff. But if there's not sun and plant life, the rest of it doesn't really happen. The other ones that I want to come back to are where does your drinking water come? Where does your wastewater go? So not just does it come from the well, not just does it come from the water treatment plant, where does it come from? Let's start with the hydrological cycle, right? So is it rainfall? Is it groundwater? How does the groundwater get there? The point of this is to get you thinking through that whole cycle, like Jen said, from source to sink. Where does your wastewater go and how does it get there, right? So this one goes through the wastewater treatment plant and it goes back into the river, right? That's common, but that's an important thing to say. So if you think it just goes to the wastewater treatment plant and then it just stays there forever, or maybe it evaporates. Some wastewater treatment plants put them into evaporative ponds. Some put them into infiltration basins that go into the groundwater that go back through. Well, where does it go? Where does that river go? Does that one go to the ocean? Does it go to the lake? Does it go through the community? Is it then used by another community for their drinking water? Those are sorts of things that really tune us into how we're connected to both the global hydrological cycle as well as to the ecologies and the communities around us. So we want you to get thinking through that so that you can understand where your site is positioned and how it's positioned relative to the bigger picture of these bigger patterns of the bioregion.
Great points, Neil. I appreciate all of those. We'll show you one more and we'll clear that off. So this was done slide by slide, point by point. And it's nice to see because this, again, was a group site. It's a public site. There's lots of information here. So they went in and they took some information not only from the site and what they understood, but also from individuals. So they reached out. They saw what the statistics were. They saw what the frustration was in this neighborhood of Bowness. They talked about some of these pieces. They talked about problems of high school completion rate, stigma attached to being a newcomer in the community. They went further into taking a look at where it's going, and they took all of this from the local regional assessment, which was at that level, and then they went into the three biggest cultural challenges and moved on. And now I'm already off of it. How did this happen? Oh, right, because it goes down. Sorry. Took a look at financial issues, took a look at water and soil. So again, really did this step by step. This is a lot of slides. I'm fine if you do it this way. It's a lot. You can, as we saw before, you can get this on 2 slides or you can get it on 15. Totally up to you. They definitely went above and beyond on the Great Food Web. Really appreciate that. Kind of missed out on the sun conversation, but still showed us this conversation, which was great. Brought us into the birds. Would love to see the Latin and the binomial here. Talked about indigenous housing. Would love to get a why about this. Put us into medicinal plants. Started to bring in some of the scientific names, the Latin names, which was great to see. Showed us into the flowers. So a bit of inconsistency here. Sometimes we're getting binomial, sometimes we're not. Started to get into some of the bar graphs of showing us what the Flowsar showed us record rainfall, record snowfall. Again, using multiple sources, you can do this type of thing. Temperatures, humidex, weather event summary, hail being very specific, because there are some specifics in and around Calgary, drought, Chinooks, things of that nature. So great. I got all the information, really good. Would love to see a little bit more sourcing, some sources, source here. That would have been great. But generally, really well done. Really appreciated how they put this together. Neil?
Yeah, I'm still trying to follow because it is so many slides. So just that in itself says something. Okay, so my first thought here is not just on this assignment, it's on just a reflection on the assignment as a whole. This is the pattern, remember? So as designers, we're designing from pattern to detail. So the bioregional questionnaire helps clue you into the pattern of the bioregion. So hopefully it will give you a lot of the drivers and constraints for your design, which, I think that remember to take this, and when you're building on all this stuff for your final design, connect it and overlay it with your client questionnaire. What are your desires? What are your skills? That sort of stuff. Like Javan said, that gets into that 3 spheres. What do you want to do? What is the climate and the bioregion actually support and capable of? And what is the site itself capable of? So let's start to overlay those things so that we can get realistic about it. So this tool is part of that process. And so if you can put it together in a way that makes it easy to review it, like that single page or two, that's often going to make it more accessible to you to plug into your design conversation. I really like how they've gone through the social cultural challenges and added in data. If there's a cultural challenge that's been identified in your area, it's likely that your county or other municipality or something like that will have some accurate and at least short-term, if not long-term, data sets and statistics about it. And when you get into design, these details end up being things that you're actually needing to inform your design response. So if crime, for example, is high, what types of crime? If you're going to try to design and manage for a crime sector, well, you need to, if theft is the type of crime rather than something like vandalism, then you would design differently, right? So on and so forth. So having these details ends up really being important when you get to the design process as well. And then sources, where did you get it? Is it accurate? Can you go back and find it again? Is it not just a number on a page that you come back to 3 months later and are unfamiliar with? So that's valuable and important. I see that here. Let's keep cruising through. I think those are my main comments that I have in addition to your stuff.
Okay, awesome.
I really like the climate part where they have the additional factors, right? Because again, this is the pattern level. So we get all the details of the climate with the patterns of precipitation, the patterns of temperature, maybe patterns of wind. What are the other major factors that are going to inform your design response? Well, let's put them in here and get some sources and get some data on it, so that you have some actual design reference points to build off of as well.
Awesome. All right, Neil, I think that probably wraps us up. It's a pretty straightforward conversation, this assignment. You're answering the questions, a couple big things, add in photos, put in the whys when you can, think about source to sink, really go, is that actually the source? Is grass where the energy comes from, or does it go up a little bit higher? Does it come from a different place? So I think there's some good conversations there in terms of going a little bit further. Make sure that you've sourced your information so we know where it's coming from. Make sure you have Latin names, binomial names, and make it as easy to read as possible. I think that's about it. Anything else, Neil?
Nope.
Awesome. All right, folks. Well, thanks so much for jumping in, and we'll see you in the next video.